Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's uLaw webinar. The topic for today's webinar is how do you ensure the BX, CX, UX, and PX is high for your law office or your legal office. But law office is really, the title is exactly what you see on the screen right now. And today's webinar is accredited for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits in the provinces of Ontario, New Brunswick, and British Columbia. So please to use this particular title under your Law Society portals, and you should be able to get your 1 hour of CPD credits. Okay? And yes, at all times, please to use the chat window to ask any questions that you may have pertaining to today's webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel as early as Monday. So like every other uLaw webinar, today's webinar has this very specific agenda. We have covered this particular webinar in some of our previous months, but it's always a very interesting subject to talk about. Often here at uLaw, we're discussing compliance, we're talking about effectiveness, efficiencies, business analytics, right? We're talking about ledgers and journals and reconciliation and all of the fun stuff. But today is a slightly different topic. It's really putting to context why you do what you do on a day-to-day basis as a legal professional, and certain things that we've read, learned, and tried and got feedback from customers around the experiences that legal offices should and are providing their customers, and really exploring over the next 55 minutes to talk about what these experiences should mean to you when you introspect your business today. And hopefully it's an opportunity for you to go back and look at any specific experience where you believe you could be better at, or if you certainly appreciate that you are doing the best you can and you certainly believe you're really hitting the mark with these experiences, then you can be confident that you've set yourself up for success. And if you learn more about these experiences, please feel free to share with us as you email us back to support@uLawPractice.com, and we'll love to share that back to the group with regards to this topic. But getting back to the agenda, so we're certainly going to talk about these experiences. We'll definitely come to the acronyms a bit later. So we certainly want to talk about what these experiences mean, the BX, UX, CX, and PX, and how you as a legal business should be looking out for, one, creating a brand and then continuing to replenish that brand and protect that brand with regards to how you perform as a company and a business and the service that you provide in a very professional, thorough manner. Okay? And of course, we'll talk about certain tools that you could use to automate some of these practices, especially around the user experience and overall the customer experience, the UX and CX. And keep in mind how you can, in a very cohesive manner, have all of these experiences work hand in hand so that you, at the end of the day, can not only create that brand, but in a very automated way or semi-automated way at the least, ensure the efficiencies and I would say the effectiveness of the brand, the processes that you have to maintain the service level, as well as the overall feedback that you can get from your customers to keep that machine running. Okay? All right, so when we start talking about definitions, certainly want to talk about, so for those who just joined us, today's webinar is accredited for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits. The title is How Do You Ensure BX, CX, UX, and PX is High for Your Law Office? Okay, and we've just gotten started after the agenda, and we're going to talk about the BX, which is really the brand experience. Now, like, the legal business is very interesting, right? One, You have all these compliance aspects of your business that you need to cater to. There's the aspect of, the law society's requirements that have to be met. There is the aspect of you servicing these clients, doing your best to represent them depending on the area of practice. Of course, putting all of your brain power to work, all the documentation that goes behind the scenes. So it's pretty overwhelming when the kind of work that you need to put in. But you are legal champions, and this is what you do day in, day out. So hopefully this comes natural to you. But the third aspect of the legal business is it's as good as any other business when it comes to, quote unquote, operating your business. There's a need to run this business profitably, because then that's what's going to help you run your life, especially if you're a sole practitioner, if you're just a growing legal firm. If you're a large law firm, of course, or legal firm, then over a period of time, you've pretty much learned your ranks and you understand how to best invest, protect, and replenish that brand. But especially if you're just getting started, the brand experience becomes almost your entry point into the world of your customers, so that people can easily, I would say, recognize and be able to align themselves with who you are and what you represent as a brand and as a legal firm. Okay? So first and foremost, when you're looking to either rebrand yourself, post-COVID, there's a great opportunity for all of us to hit the refresh button to restart. Right? There's enough excuses for that, good, bad, and all other reasons, right? So if you are looking to rebrand yourself, right from, the digital footprints that you have to the different types of color combinations of brand, there are many different components that go behind the brand, which we'll talk about. This is a great opportunity and time to do that. If you're a practitioner who's just getting started, something for you to think about, and you can certainly read about brand, the importance of brand when it comes to any business, and it's that much more important for legal business because of one simple reason, that a good majority of legal businesses get their business from references, if not repeat customers. So the need to be top of mind, the need to have brand recognition is a little bit more higher in need in the legal business, compared to, let's say, other businesses. Okay? So when you look at your brand today, think about, is the brand adequately reflecting the individual that you are, or the group of individuals, or the law firm that you are as a company and as a value that you offer, the values that you bring to the table as individuals or business. And last but not the least, most important, the competencies that you reflect within your business. There could be one specific area of practice that you excel in, and both through education and experience, you can vouch for your ability to do really well for your clients in that area of practice. You could have multiple individuals collaborating with the similar experience and education, so as a team, you may be able to represent clients in a plethora of different areas of practices. Or you may be able to do it yourself, depending on your, again, education experience, team, right? You want to be able to reflect these three important components in your brand, either through the website that you have for brand recognition, for digital footprint, the different social media footprints that you leave, which continue to talk and spread the right message. And if you, for example, we'll definitely cover this a little bit later, how a bit of digital marketing 101 kind of goes hand in glove with the whole branding exercise as well. But at the end of the day, you really want to be able to provide something tangible that both prospective clients can resonate with and existing clients can easily refer you to, right? So talking about the brand and these three important components of the brand establishes a very solid foundation for establishing brand experience. And you see with a lot of brands, especially in the legal business, they take this opportunity to also imprint confidence and service excellence. We will get the job done could be a caption. Small claims is what we do. criminal matters made simple, or, I'm just making this up. It can be made simple, but criminal matters is everything that we live and breathe. Uh, you know, I'm not really great at coming up with captions, as you can see, but we often find that legal firms leave a very succinct but important tagline, if you will, behind everything else that goes behind the brand to imprint confidence and service excellence. So something for you to think about as well. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about brand and why that's important and why brand experience fundamentally helps you bring your business. Then we come into looking at customer experience. The brand experience gets you the foot in the door, gets the customer to understand that you exist as a business, a very critical, important step in this very digital, noisy world, right? There's just so many people who do exactly what you do on paper, but how you are different from the rest of the gang really comes to the first step, an opportunity that you have to, I would say, differentiate yourself comes at the customer experience. So someone understands brand, comes to you for a specific need. The journey of that customer from that point in time when they enter the door, or that used to be my example prior COVID, but let's say they enter your digital world to talk to you or any of your staff, colleagues, this is where that experience and the journey begins. Okay, so starting from the time of engagement, and it continues. So it does not just start and end right there. It continues till the final closure letter, if you will, of a specific logical closure to a file or a relationship. Okay? And I think we've written it really well in this slide. Customer experience should be looked at or perceived by the customer with every in-person welcome, every telephone conversation, email, engagement, every digital touch point, even through social media, and that's becoming important, but also through every, I would say, legalized aspects or legal components, right, from documents, retainer engagement letters, the clarity of those letters, the brand equivalence of the documents that you provide, and, of course, service excellence and professionalism certainly adds to the overall customer experience. Okay? Then we talk about the third experience. We'll go one step deeper now, called the user experience. And consider the user experience, so you provided a certain differentiating factor, okay? Let's say you've differentiated yourself, okay? So I was just trying to think of how best to talk about this. So let's say you've done your best to differentiate yourself. The customers come in. They really, they think this is a really good professional organization. They're confident about your areas of practices that you've done. But this is an opportunity for you to provide the wow factor. Okay, the wow factor is really where you sweep the customer off their feet, and they're really delighted by the way that you're operating. It's in so much, the devil is in the detail. So we spoke about this pre-COVID for many years, and it's become even more important post-COVID to talk about the multi-touch point experience that you want to be able to provide your prospective clients in a way that they can engage with you. So yes, it's a very professionally written retainer letter, but are you mailing this to your client? Or are you sending this as an email with the ability for you or your customer to digitally sign that retainer agreement? It's a client intake form, but are you sending this digitally so that that customer who needs to fill out some basic information can do that mobile first? Because everybody's going mobile, right? Even laptops are becoming a thing of the past. And with everything being centered around that, how is your legal business and your digital touch points acclimatizing to that change. So the user experience, keep in mind, is how you not only differentiate yourself, but go one step further to provide options and create that wow factor in how you engage with your customer. So does your client get a sense for the different technologies and tools that you use? But even the tools and technologies are more of a subliminal, I would say, infrastructure level. It's more the thought that you have in mind to think about your customer first in being able to provide a certain ease of, operational efficiency. So being able to pay you easily at a click of a button could not only benefit your customer, but can also benefit yourself so that you're able to reduce that days on sale that much faster. So the user experience in many ways not only benefits your customers, it certainly benefits your own business, right? So keep in mind as you rethink your strategies, evolve your business post-2020, to think about how best you can not only brand, provide consistent professional customer experiences, and then talk about the wow factor that you can leave them with so that the whole experience is very much a part of who they are, and when they talk about you with other friends and colleagues that they want to refer you to. Okay? And the product experience is kind of the, I would say, encompassing experience, the overall experience, having walked through each and every exposure that the customer has had with you, right from day one to final closure. But the product experience is now your, I would say, not really a marketing opportunity, it's a bit of a sales opportunity as well. This is where you need to have the right tools, strategies, and technologies to leave your customer with options for them to reconsider utilizing your services, options so that you are top of their mind when such a need arises, either for themselves or for their friends and family members. So have you done a good job of letting that small claims customer know that you also deal with real estate matters? How have you done that in a, I wouldn't say not too salesy way, but still in a way that's is not, it's non-intrusive, but at the same time it's professional and it's done with taste. So the product experience is in the way, there are two components as we believe it in the legal business at least. One is, of course, having gone through that journey with you, understanding the outcome of, what really happened with that matter. Was it everything was done, but at the last minute something happened and was not professional? That's not going to leave a great taste, even with the little wow factors early on, right? So sometimes if it's a results-oriented, you don't want to oversell yourself. You want to keep your target at winning the case for your client, or at least ensuring that the customer has been well informed of the efforts that are being put in towards that path, right? So that sometimes even when the case is lost, at least they feel that you've done everything that quite is possible as a legal practitioner to help them through that matter. Or even if it's commoditized services such as real estate, you have that little wow factor here and there that leaves not only the outcome, but the ability for them to think about you next time someone else is purchasing a home. Okay? Now if we were to combine these four experiences, right? You've got your brand, that really is your initial creation of your business and how you can represent all the wonderful things that that customer can experience once they enter this world of your legal business. So it's really a great opportunity for you to build, I would say, a symbol that can be easily marketed, a symbol that can easily go word of mouth, a symbol that you can easily communicate about the remaining three experiences that the customer is going to experience, or you believe that they will experience if they work with you. Next comes the customer experience, then you have the user, and now the overall experience of having worked with your business, ready to understand more about what you can do, and that customer now becomes hopefully an ambassador of your legal firm's service offerings. Okay. So hopefully we were able to establish kind of the context for today's webinar, the 3 to 4 important components of the overall experiences that you may want to take back, look at your strategies, and start to evaluate the right tools, strategies, and personnel that you need to not only execute on it, but continue to maintain that execution day and day. So I'm going to now kind of take a deeper dive into these individual aspects of brand experience and through the customer, user, and product experience. And of course, leave you with certain aspects of, again, we're all about the effectiveness. We're all about how you can save time in doing certain things. And hopefully there's a few aspects that you can take away from the webinar that you can implement right away. So the first thing I'll talk about brand, especially though this particular webinar and the slides were built pre-COVID, I do want to add a few components to this particular slide. When you look at really the brand experience, today you have to start looking at it from a digital standpoint as well. You really need to start looking at, there are no more billboards because, value for money is diminishing in those areas. The value for money is at a much higher return rate in your digital channels. So first is to create a brand, but then being able to build a brand that's easy to communicate. So what is it that your legal firm does? A simple brand message or a brand logo or the right color combinations should, as soon as they see it, they should probably be able to recollect not just the brand, but right away in a flash of their mind, the experience that they went through. Often they talk about, I've heard this saying that it's not how the things that were said. At the end of the day, it's how you feel with the person is what that matters. It's kind of a very similar analogy, right? Not everybody's going to remember the retainer letter and the details of it, several years back, but they're certainly going to remember the brand and connect it to the overall wonderful, positive experience that they had in working with your legal firm. But we believe the brand does play a huge role in, I would say, brand recollection, if I'm sure you've heard of that word, for both new and existing customers. So if you really look at branding and then associate that or club it with the digital social world that we all live in, think about the retweets, think about being able to forward, think about the number of comments on an Instagram story. So think about how that brand takes many avatars within the digital channel so that it's easier for your ambassadors, for yourself, your marketing team, everyone else that's got your best interest in mind, be able to expand on that marketing message to a wider audience that everyone now has, right? Each and every prospective client and existing client has a certain sphere of influence around their social network, be it family or friends. So when you think about brand, the idea is to keep it simple, but certainly relay the message around the values, competencies, everything we talked about earlier, right? Who you are as an individual. So communicating that maybe in your About Us page, right at the center of your website, why you became a legal practitioner, building a bit of a quotient of a storytelling there. Talk about the values that you bring, your roots, and why you became this daredevil that you are today. And of course, keep it professional to talk about the specific areas of practice that you're very confident in representing your clients. And adding to that, to bring more prudence to the brand, you of course have many different aspects around quotes. So you can have customer quotes. Again, these have been pretty old working strategies. But now in the digital world, you may want to consider, depending on the type of platform that you use for your websites, it becomes easier today if you're using WordPress or if you're using any other platform to build your websites. There are easier ways for you to not only get customer feedback, but also reflect them back on your website, right? Sometimes it's important to invest in certain tools that can give a little bit more prudence in that whole journey of collecting customer feedback or testimonials and reflecting it. We've also started to hear in the digital world how people can sometimes just buy these things. So the more right tools that you use to reflect the reality of your testimonials, the better it is. So you have many different tools, right from Google. You can have, if you have established your business in Google Businesses, the My Listings confirms the identity of the individual who actually wrote a feedback on your website, right? There's other products such as Pilot. You could have GetApp, Feedback.io. There are many different tools. And then if you're using, modern website platforms, they all come with some form in way to not only make it easier for you to collect testimonials and references, but also ensure the prudence of it, right? So that's the number one. So you've got your values, you've got some reputation management going on to help improve the weightage of your brand, right? You talked about your different areas of practice that you can offer. Maybe have some case studies around it if you can, without, of course, giving away information that's privy to privacy. And of course, then comes your social presence. So there's a level of consistency that's expected. And people, today, audience, your consumers are less forgiving than before because they have limited time, and they've all become, everyone's looking at the glass half empty these days. Because they have limited time and they have to make a decision fast, or it's just the fast-paced world that we're in. And hence, it's important for a certain level of consistency. I'll give you a good example. If you have, let's say, a certain logo, maybe with initials of the owners, or a certain color combination that you have. For example, I'll talk about uLaw. We have this color combination, or our brand identity guideline document. So, you could be on Fiverr. So this is a website where people can actually help you build your brand, your logos, the colors. You can choose from different colors. They would give you various designs and give it to you in a certain high quality format, so that these are little things, but still need to be considered. So if you have, let's say, your Facebook having a certain color scheme, and then you have your Instagram page in a totally different, out-of-whack color scheme, then when the audience looks at these two experiences, it's a bit off. You want to maintain a certain social consistency from look and feel, and then comes to messaging. So if you do not have accident benefits at all on your website as an area of practice, but for whatever reason your Facebook feed and your Insta feed constantly talks about accident benefits, the values, yada, 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 then again, something for you to think about in terms of what you offer and what the story that you're telling across your digital platforms. But if you were to reverse tables, if you did have accident benefits as an area of practice that you focus on and continue to talk about it and be that advocate or top-of-mind individual, then people are going to reflect upon that. They're going to give you the cadence that you deserve for being an expert in that area of practice, let's say. Okay? So right from creating a brand using tools such as Fiverr to maintaining the consistency across platforms, and please choose wisely the different platforms that are best for your business. And that again comes down to areas of practice. So you have the top 5 or 6 channels today, right, from Facebook to LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. You even have things such as Audible. So one of the things that we're starting to see as a trend for brand recognition, because everybody is into audiobooks now, right? So Audible is another area where you could start to promote little, and you of course heard of Clubhouse. That's a brand new platform that's been launched. So if you have expertise in a certain area of practice and you're willing to talk about it almost like a podcast, then that's another way of you helping yourself promote that brand. In that case, so imagine this. So if you're just talking about the name and someone's just hearing it, they're not seeing it, so the colors, none of that really matters. But still, it would resonate the next time they see it live on a different platform, and then they connect with your expertise that they heard on Audible or Clubhouse. So that's how it works. That's how the mind works. And the more, I would say, consistent you are, it doesn't matter how many channels you're in. What's important is that you're current and you're consistent. So if you have a story that you say on Facebook today, and then let's say people discover the next, I would say, blog or item that you have on your website is 6 months later, then of course that leaves them with a certain taste. But even if you do it once a week or once every 2 weeks, if you're consistently delivering, that leaves a totally different taste, right? The second being a much better aspect of it. So think about brand, think about how best you can promote it digitally, socially. Now then comes the next aspect of executing on the promise, which is once they've entered your office, there's a certain brand consistency that's expected during the execution of the promise, right? So the retainer letter, ensuring that it's the brand, the verbiage around that retainer letter is professional, is clear. Of course, it's a law society thing that they talk about very heavily around clarity in the retainer letter. Now, you don't want to be writing, I would say, the entire document in its entirety every time brand new for every customer that you have, especially if it's the same area of practice. If there are certain components of your business that are cookie cutter, then best is to help automate those components of it. For example, if your days of sale, if you say you need to be paid within 15 to 20 days, and let's say that's your corporate policy, you don't have to necessarily type it every time in a document. You have the ability to word merge all these things so that they can be automated. So right from your letterhead to consistent verbiage in a document, a practice management tool allows you to now execute on that promise by making the legal documents that you now start sending your customer across the digital and other channels, making them consistent, meaningful, as per Law Society talks about, making it very prudent and to point. Okay? So combining the social media tools, the practice management or document management tools, keep in mind that you are now able to not only create a brand, but consistently deliver that brand across various aspects of that customer's journey. And we believe a good brand experience translates to great referrals. That's the bottom line. That's the essence of why we do this. And again, we're unable to change the template and the slide share. Otherwise, I would probably be able to show you more examples. But we've taken Starbucks. We took that once, and we're kind of sticking to it. But it's still relevant. Fortunately, it's still relevant because this brand and many others similar to them have not that we saw COVID hit us, but they did see the digital transition of the world. So it's still valid even today's order online and pick up at store. So if you look at the brand experience of a Starbucks cup, and you can see that this is consistent. Of course, the word franchise makes it in your mind that, of course, they have to be, right? But the whole process behind franchising is really the ability to automate consistently the same experience, whether you drink a coffee in Canada or if you go to Australia, the United States, wherever, you still see the green and white, the mermaid, because you don't see a Goofy or a Mickey Mouse, right, on a Starbucks cup. So brand experience, the ability to see that symbol and be able to resonate that experience of the coffee, and I would say almost a brand attraction. And now, of course, there's a lot of thoughts around status and having a Starbucks coffee in your hand, having a different status compared to others. We're not going to get into that. What they've done well is to create a brand and make it easy for everyone to now resonate with. So, though it's a totally different industry, something as an essence to keep in mind when you build your brand. Okay, so simple tagline. And around taglines, I'm sure you've heard Nike and the Just Do It, and it's very consistent today. Nike does not talk about shoes, and this is something which was very well articulated in one of the speeches, I would say, that Nike doesn't necessarily talk about the shoes itself. They promote the athletes and the experience of those athletes, and they talk about how best to promote. So when you as legal business have a certain area of practice, starting to talk about that area of practice, how it's evolving, the newer policies, and really having that thought leadership allows you to establish more cadence for the brand. So they know that, okay, this is the brand ABC. Oh, for sure, they're really good at this because I've heard them and I've seen them talk about these things consistently across these media platforms. And then it's easier for you to resonate the next time you see that brand on a website or on an advertisement, right? Because consider this, digital branding or digital marketing is becoming expensive. So if you need to put your little logo or a banner on a Google ad, the bigger the size, the more the content, the more the money. So if you're able to reduce your size of your banner ads, whether it's click the size or if you can start to build a brand just based on a simple logo and a tagline that takes them to your website and builds that brand recognition, you're now able to utilize that brand space digitally across various platforms and pay less for it. Something to think about too. Okay, so we then move on a little bit more detailed, and hopefully I'm not putting you to sleep. I know it's that time of the day, and it is a bit of a talk-the-talk subject. I'm not able to show you much of demo today. But we move on to customer experience. As I mentioned earlier, customer experience, we're talking about them having hooked onto the brand. They've entered, they want to explore utilizing you. So client intake. Today, being able to send that digitally, it's not so much a user experience, it's kind of the border range. You could still send them a client intake form, a PDF document via email, so that's still part of your customer experience. Good first digital step. But if you're expecting them to fill out a form and then send it to you via mail, not so much a user experience, right? But keep in mind when you plan this and strategize your experiences, this is the consistency around not just the branding of it, but this is now the consistency of delivering the promise of capability and values. So if you talk about values and you say you would, treat every customer right, and then you never return a phone call or the voicemails never get returned, or you talk highly about your customer service and then sometimes it's okay, but if you're consistently missing the mark, then does not directly reflect on your values that you promote as part of the brand. right? So customer experience is keeping the promise around competency, around the value, not just for yourself, but for others in the business too. And that's why it's important, if you are a growing business, that the owner or owners train or facilitate training for the remaining colleagues and staff who then join the business to have a better appreciation for the brand and the promise and the different very important aspects that go behind delivering that promise. So every phone call, every meeting, every correspondence, providing a very clear, professional, confident advice goes a long way to maintain a higher customer experience. Okay. This takes effort and discipline, as we mentioned here. Training is one of the effort. And if you're doing this the manual way, then it takes a lot of discipline. But then if there are certain components, of course, that you can automate with tools. So we talk about the different documents, the legal documents. You can most certainly automate all of those with the right tools. But being courteous, being polite, being very clear, those things come with training. And then either yourself or others in the business have to ensure that every colleague in the business has those values built into their service delivery. Another important document that we believe that we often find is an important document to have clarity on are your invoices. And hence, having the right tools to give clarity in those documents, a very important customer experience from a legal business standpoint. And there could be various other documents. I know I've listed a few here, right from your ledgers. Sometimes customers do ask for those. You can build client ledgers, both trust and general. There could be closure statements that can go a long way, especially if you've got a discipline of adding a little tagline, maybe dropping a certain call to action. Certain documents are, of course, legal in their essence, so you don't want to use that opportunity to sell them on it. But there are other documents that you can most certainly utilize to help build the brand and build repeat customers, right? So the reason I mention that is, let's say in every invoice you want to put in that there's a 1.5% monthly or a, 15, 20% annual interest on invoices unpaid. You want to make sure that it's consistent. You don't want to be 15 in one place, 30 in another place, unless there are exceptions. And hence, tools like practice management tools help you to put a little, a single line item that can show in the footer of every invoice. You can decide certain documents, and you can templatize certain documents, such as closure statements or a thank you letter that you send them, keeping that thin line of edge between professionalism and being able to salesy in your pitch, but still being able to add, let's say, thank you for your business, and this is what we can offer you. We look forward to serving you more, and these are some of the areas of practices that we've done, and maybe a few testimonials attached can have a nice closure to that matter, but also leave an open door for them to feel welcomed to come back to you the next time they have a need. Okay? So those things can be automated too. So we'll go back to the Starbucks experience of, again, I've not even mentioned Starbucks, so I'm assuming that you know this is Starbucks. If not, I'll mention it. We've taken the example of Starbucks, the business, the coffee business, and of course they sell more today, but that's who we've taken. So the customer experience is about the ability for you to personalize the delivery of the service, though having certain consistencies in the overall documentation and franchising of the documentation, right? It's a retainer letter, but it's not just a general retainer letter. There are certain aspects that are specific and general, but there are other aspects that are more specific to the matter themselves. So having the right file, the right matter name, the right customer name, their address, their correspondence address, the correct rates that you want to provide to this customer. If you're consistently providing, time and material or billable time, and then for this exception, you want to provide a flat rate, but if you don't send the right templatized document and personalize it to that matter, then you end up maybe sending a, billable time retainer letter to that customer, right? So there's a need for consistency, but it's important to also utilize the right tools, like the practice management tools, to personalize that experience for this customer. So just like how you would have the same Starbucks mermaid, but then have your name written on it on the specific coffee that you purchased. Okay, so the consistent brand experience, but a very personalized experience at it. Now comes the user experience. So very wonderful brand, great welcome messages. Everyone's really to the point, and you've got the right retainer, you've got the right invoices. Everything is wonderful. But heck, you can't pay me online, or you need to come to my office to make that payment. So starting to now think of all the different hurdles that you may be knowingly or unknowingly putting for your customer, and then really thinking of it from a customer-first experience point of view, to now start to think the wow factors in the user experience. And some of them are not even wow factors anymore, right? As they say, necessity is the mother of all inventions. Digital, and that has now almost become not much of a differentiator factor. There are, of course, nuances to it that can help differentiate yourself, but the legal business being what it is, the entity itself is slightly, I would say, behind others, such as retail and e-commerce and things of that nature, and hence you're not too bad off, and hence providing a digital strategy or thinking about a digital strategy beyond email, this is a good time to think about that. Providing more convenience to your customer to do business with you is all part of that user experience. Sending a digital document is not a user experience. Sending a digital document that can be digitally signed, just like some of the, real estate transactions that we have with legal firms, making it easier for you to initial and sign documents. So having the right tools, whether that's DocuSign, you have PDF Echo, you have Adobe, you have many different tools that now you can look at. You can look at digital signature tools that allow you to make it easier for your customers to sign documents. And then you look at the right practice management tools that allow you to accept online payments. Because one is to accept online payments, but then the ability for you to, I would say, reconcile that with your own internal books at the same time is not just it's a double whammy, right? It's important for your customer, but it's important equally for you and your firm. So leaving a link for your customer through a digital invoice for your end customer to pay for payments online, definitely a game changer in the legal business. And it will be at least for the next 1 to 2 years. And then it becomes status quo, and then you have to think about the next big thing. And that's how it rolls, right? So integrated payment can be a good example in the legal business. And of course, we talk about user experience being the different touch points that you could use to communicate with your business. So during execution, being very clear in the retainer engagement letter as to how you propose communicating with your customers. For example, we have now evolved to a WhatsApp business age where even emails are not fast enough, right? There's just so many emails, sometimes it's lost in translation, and people want immediate feedback. So you could have, let's say on your website, these little chat windows, or you could have them as making it easier for your customers to communicate via certain digital channels, you should certainly, if you do expose those digital channels, then of course you have the responsibility of communicating that in a standard template across documents, especially the letter of engagement and retainer, about the risks and rewards of those different channels, right? The fine line or the T and C that people talk about, or often talk about but never read it through. But it's still important for you as a business to communicate the terms and conditions of any correspondence channel that you propose utilizing during the execution. So let's say you've covered that. Being able to provide a customer with an experience such as WhatsApp or instant messaging, or maybe you have Facebook Messenger for communication and WhatsApp for customers. These can be helpful in making it or reduce the friction of correspondence with today's customer, today's day and age customer. Okay? So again, hopefully I'm able to resonate back to the example. So you've got the same branded experience. It's a very personalized cup of coffee, but I'm able to order it online and pick it up at my convenience. I don't have to stand in line. And this used to be the case when we all used to travel. I'm sure you've all had your share of experience being at the Pearson Airport and waiting in line before your flight. And I really like to talk about it so that I really think about the wonderful life we lived prior to this COVID situation. But yes, then you see this wonderful, fast-paced business person walking past us, picking up their coffee, and then just walking right past us. And you're like, what's he got that I don't have? And that's the Starbucks app. And then that's where she or he is able to order online and pick it up at a convenient time. And we've seen this with students. We've seen this with folks of different walks of life and experiences. So think about that and see how best you can bring that level of experience to your own business. Right? So same branded experience, same personalized customer experience with clarity. It's my latte. But I just made it easier for me to order that online. And last but not the least, it's about the overall encompassing experience, as I like to call them. So a satisfied customer needs to feel the need that at the end of the day that her or his needs were met in terms of the legal need that they had in working with you. And that's number one, that's priority. But along with that, the experiences that they've gone through will certainly leave them with a good taste, if, of course, executed properly, so that now they're ready and they're confident and they feel nice about recognizing your brand and talking about that experience with other friends, colleagues, people who need this. Sometimes we work with a brand and we kind of take that brand experience to our grave, right? Sometimes we just don't want anyone to have gone through a similar worse brand experience. Even your worst enemy, you don't want them to go through that brand experience. That should not be the case here. It should be the totally opposite. It should be like, I'm really proud that I did the due diligence. I found this brand. Sometimes that's how it is, right? We all don't have all the money on the planet to market ourselves. We do it in our own little pocket ways. And to be able to have a customer discover us, enjoy the experience of working with us, and then converting into an ambassador or someone who's willing to talk about us at various levels. There are folks who would tell their friends when they're asked. There are customers who go out of their way to promote you on their own social channels. And there are customers who might just leave a quote and are willing to do that. And heck, there are some customers who are not able to do any of those four, but we'll talk, great of you at a cocktail party or something. So you definitely need to be able to cater and prepare to cater to the various different customers that we may experience throughout our businesses. But in all these cases, the product experience is the final taste on the lips or taste on the tongue that you leave with some additional information. And this is where it's important that you as a legal business leave that very happy customer with some additional information. Yes, you are so focused in executing this one area of practice that though you have it on your website, you've never shared that again and again as a cocky salesperson would probably do to your current executing customer. But at the time of closure, at the right time, you want to be able to leave them with information so that they, in a very non-intrusive, latent way, can appreciate other areas of practice that you deliver. So, as I've said before, having worked on a small claims matter or a landlord and tenant board matter, that's great, but leaving them the taste that you also do real estate or family or criminal or any other area of practice, very important. Sometimes it might even just be in the brand itself. Right? You could say ABC, small claims, criminal, done. So right away people know that maybe those are the two areas of practice that you're good at. So let me put my laptop on charge. So the product experience is the overall experience of having worked with you on a specific matter or file, but leaving that along with additional information about what else you can offer as a business. Okay? And the hope for that is so that they can now translate that as a story to their friends so that you can now get referral customers. So, last but not the least, product experience when it comes to Starbucks, same brand, same franchise model of process. You know, the ingredients are pretty much the same. It's a very personalized experience. I can order it online, but now I've been promoted that not only do they serve hot coffees, they serve cold coffees. Not only do they sell coffees today, they sell food. Not only do they sell food, they serve now the needs of vegans. So leaving your existing customer, your repeat customer, of course, if you're going to a coffee shop, you're not going to a legal office as often as you go to a coffee shop. That's a given. But at the same time, the cost of transaction is also different. There are variables in all these businesses, but the essence of what we want to take away is just like how we recognize there's options in Starbucks beyond coffee, beyond a certain type of coffee. The customer who's had a great experience working with your legal firm leaves that experience knowing that there are other areas of practice that she or he can consider you as an option to work with when the need arises or when someone asks them about help. Okay? Alrighty, so in short or in summary, going back to our title here, so today's webinar was accredited for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits, and the title is How Do You Ensure BX, CX, UX, and PX is High for Your Law Office? And we spoke about the 4 different experiences. You've got the brand, customer, user, and the product experience. So something for you to think about is revisiting your branding, the amount of training and personal management so that everybody in the firm can talk the same message, the different tools that you can help yourself with to help automate, the tools that you can use to help promote across social digital channels in a very consistent manner, the practice management tools that you have, and tweaking them to ensure that the legal documents and all documents via execution are consistent and are on point to the matter, still leaving the customer with the feeling of a very committed, digitally connected, customized, personalized execution and experience. Okay, so that being said, it is top of the hour, and for a change I want to be able to kind of stick to my timing here in terms of can we download the deck. This particular session and the content of it is very much available on our YouTube channel, and you're certainly able to revisit the overall content on our YouTube channel. Okay, perfect. So yeah, now's the time we'll open up for any questions that you may have had, any feedback on the webinar itself. And I do apologize for all the monologuing that I have to do with these webinars, but given the CPD nature of them, I would have to stick to the story, I guess, stick to the script. So the way we have the webinars recorded, so we have a specific playlist called webinars, and we always have the most recent right at the top with the date. And if it's a CPD session, we have CPD written in the title of these YouTube titles. So in terms of executing an online intake form, there are a couple of ways of doing this. In my previous webinar, I've shown you how you could do that right from uLaw's practice management tool. You could start doing that across other other practice management tools as well. You could also have it off your website, right? If you don't want that information even coming into your practice management. But our idea of client intake was the ability for you to send a form, have that information come right into your practice management so that you can do a conflict check and determine if that person is a possible candidate or not. But most definitely, yes. The simplest, fastest way that people I've seen execute is having a simple intake form on their website, but ensuring that when someone does fill out that form, that comes right away into your email or your text so that you can react fast and respond back to the client right away. So what we've done in terms of, so the question is how do you harmonize the website form to the uLaw form? So what we've done, I'm going to stop the recording here so that I want to keep the context of this webinar.